to even be able to recall the situation. I think it said something about the entire attitude of us over there. I never had a specific hatred for the Vietnamese. I just tended to ignore them. They didn't figure in any calculation as to being human. They just either got in the way or they weren't there. It used to be a game we'd play. We'd pour garbage, liquid garbage, off the end of our truck to make them crawl for it. Mama-sans would come up with half-cut 50-gallon drums, and they try and fill it up. They get pork chops and sloppy rice and mystery meat or wop slop, whatever we'd had for chow, and put it in there, and then we'd let them walk so far, and then we'd tip it over, spill it on the ground, and watch them scrape the dirt in there. Anything to dehumanize them.
At the time I was there, nobody ever got hurt in the garbage dump, as far as Americans, but a lot of Vietnamese women and children were hurt. And it was fair game between Con Thien going through the city of Cam Lo, on the outskirts of Quang Tri going to Stud, that American troops would stock up on their heavies, their spaghetti and meatballs and ham and lima beans, and any little children who were begging along the side of the road, which never numbered less than 50 or 60, were fair game for these full cans of food. They wouldn't throw them to the kids, they just bounce them off their heads or try to knock them off their bicycles.
These people are aware of what American soldiers do to them, so naturally they try to hide the young girls. We found one hiding in a bomb shelter in sort of the basement of her house. She was taken out and raped by 6 or 7 people in front of her family, in front of most of the villagers. This wasn't just one instance, this is just the first one that I could remember, but I know of 10 or 15 of such instances at least.
And I was hanging out the window observing what appeared to be about, I guess he was about 12-year-old Vietnamese boy standing there watching us. And as we lifted up with the load, the rotor wash increased because of the weight, and it blew him into the path of a 2.5-ton truck with trailer, which killed him instantly. When that happened, my first reaction, and my flight engineer, he was observing this too. Our first reaction was, I guess you'd call normal. It would be horror, pain. And then I realized that I caught myself immediately, and I said, no, you can't do that, because you develop a shell while you're in the military. They brainwash you. They take all the humanness out of you. And you develop this crust which enables you to survive in Vietnam. And if you let that protective shell down, even for a second, it could mean that it's the difference between you flipping out or managing to make it through. And I caught myself letting the shell down, and I tightened up right away, and started laughing about it and joking about it with the flight engineer. And he sort of moved on the same logic, because I guess he caught it, sort of knocked his shell down too. In one incident, we were flying, and we took fire from 6 NVA, which caused the ship to explode in the air and make a crash landing. Now, on the way down, because our company policy was to just keep on firing, I looked out across the field, and I spotted a Vietnamese woman, a peasant, running away from the ship. I fired a burst of about 6 or 7 rounds into her back before we hit the ground. When I was being questioned as to what happened about 2 weeks later by a captain in my company, I told him what we did and what I did, and we both had a good laugh about it. That was pretty much company policy.
It was really hard for you to realize that, 5 minutes ago he was your friend and now he's dead. And you'd put him on the helicopter and just make believe he went home. You try not to think that he was killed. And then you say, well, I'm going to get the gooks for it. And you just take it out on all the gooks. And it got to be where it was like someone would say, okay, you come stay on my farm and you can go hunting every day for free, and I'll give you all the ammo you want. And you can hunt, and there's no limit, and you can all go out together and just hunt, and that's what it was, like a hunting trip. And the more people we killed, the happier our officers were, It got to be like a game, like the object was to see who could kill the most people. And the different ways you could prove how many people you killed would be like cutting off ears. Now, if you brought back someone's ears, pretty likely you had to kill them to get them. And then people would, whoever had the most ears, they would get the most beers, and you'd trade your ears for beers. And it got to be like a game. Vietnamese for his ID card, and he said, "Come biếc," and that means I don't understand in Vietnamese. And it just pissed me off, so I pulled out my knife and I killed him. And it didn't bother me at all. I just called in, I said, one VC killed. And they said, how do you know he's a VC? And I said, because he's dead. And they laughed and said,
November
okay.
of '68, in an area called the Wagon Wheel, which is northwest of Saigon, while on a routine search and destroy mission, gunships were to be providing security and cover for us in case we had any contact, were circling overhead. Well, no contact was made, and the gunships got bored. So they made a gun run on a hooch with miniguns and rockets. When they left the area, we found one dead baby, which was a young child, very young, in its mother's arms. And we found a baby girl about 3 years old that were dead because these people were bored and they were just sick of flying around doing nothing. Then, when it was reported to battalion, the only reprimand was to put the two bodies on the body count board and just add them up with the rest of the dead people. There was no reprimand, there was nothing. We tried to call the gunship off, and there was nothing you could do. You know, he just made his run, dropped his ordnance, and left. And there they were, man. And the mother was, of course, hysterical. How would you like it if someone came in and shot your baby? And there was nothing we could do, man. We just watched it. And nothing happened. I have no idea what happened to the helicopter pilot or to anyone in the gunship. It was gone. And things like this happen, I'm sure, more than once. Because if I saw it, I'm sure there are a lot of veterans who aren't here who saw it. And this is why we have to stop the war. Because not only are we killing our brothers in the armed forces and brothers on the other side, but we're killing innocent people, man. Innocent civilians who are just standing by and happen to be at that place at that time, and for no other reason than that, wind up dead.
The games that some of the Marines in my outfit played, myself included, would be to find the older Papasans with the long whiskers, and which I guess is a symbol of his identity in their culture, and they would just be cut. They would brutalize anybody who complained. We would move into a village and we would just sit down. We own the village while we're here,